Sunday morning. I'm Carly Barnett. The time is 8 o'clock, and here's what we're working on right now. We have new details this morning about the plane that went off a runway in Jacksonville, what we are learning about the company that ran it as the NTSB begins its investigation. And more protests in Venezuela, what Juan Guaido is calling for, and what some of his supporters say about claims that the movement is slowing down and losing steam. But first, there is no horsing around here. Drama at the Kentucky Derby leads to the winner being disqualified. Just what led up to this and how much it's costing some bettors.
This is CBS 4 News This Morning.
8 o'clock now on Sunday, May 5th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carly Barnett. First this morning, we are sending it over to meteorologist Jennifer Correa, who just happens to be the birthday girl this morning. I'm calling her out this morning. And Jennifer, hopefully you have some nice weather for your day today.
Thank you. I'm hoping to, but I know for sure it's going to be very nice, not only for the morning hours, but into the early afternoon as well. And then we'll get the thunderstorms later on. But first, let's start off with gorgeous sunrise photos. This one taken by Brooke Trace in Fort Lauderdale Beach. Thank you for this photo. Close up of the surf. It's around 0 to 1 feet out there, so the rip current risk is still low. A nice day to make it a beach day. The earlier the better, because then we'll have to worry about the stormy skies later on. Melissa Gessner took this picture of a lime. How appropriate, of course, Cinco de Mayo. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of limes used today. 80 degrees right now in Fort Lauderdale, 81 in Miami, and then the low 80s all down through the Keys. Winds out of the south up to 15 miles per hour. And here's a look at your Cinco de Mayo forecast. Sizzling sun with afternoon storms.
Thank you, Jennifer. We have new details about the charter plane that went off a runway in Jacksonville. This morning, that plane sits in the St. Johns River more than a day after skidding into the water. When you look at this Miami Air International jet, you may think it is a miracle that everyone on board survived. As the NTSB starts its investigation, we are learning more about what happened on board and the company that operates the plane. CBS 4's Ty Russell shares these details.
From above, you can see the Naval Air Station runway in Jacksonville, and then the Miami Air International charter plane in a shallow part of the St. Johns River. The National Transportation Safety Board is now working to learn how it overran the runway Friday night. Shortly after a spokesperson with NTSB talked Saturday morning, crews got a hold of the flight data recorder to help piece together what went wrong.
Give us the airspeed, position of flight controls, the altitude, the point of touchdown, and many, many things.
Over the phone, passenger Cheryl Borman described a hard landing along with bouncing, screeching, and swerving. She also talked about the conditions when everyone was evacuated.
We were in water. We couldn't tell where we were, whether it was a river or an ocean. There was rain coming down. There was lightning and thunder. And we stood on that wing for a significant period of time.
It's unclear if weather played a factor. 136 passengers and 7 crew members were on the Boeing 737-800. 21 people were hurt and nobody was seriously injured. The charter plane had a mix of military and civilians traveling from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba to Jacksonville.
I think it is a miracle. It could have ended we could be talking about a different story.
Miami Air has 6 Boeing 737s used by federal government agencies and sports teams. The company has roughly 400 employees and 75 pilots. Boeing has released a statement saying, in part, Boeing extends its well wishes to all those involved. The company went on to say Boeing is providing technical assistance at the request of and under the direction of NTSB. We did a bit of digging and learned that the plane was built in 2001. NTSB says they have no history of any problems with that plane since it was built. Now, officials are working to get the cockpit voice recorder to hear what the pilots were saying while they were trying to land the plane safely. Now, we did reach out to Miami Air International here, and we are still waiting to hear back from the CEO and president. In Miami, I'm Ty Russell, CBS 4 This Morning.
In other news this morning, a man is recovering after he was shot in northwest Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade police says 2 brothers were fighting yesterday when a gun went off. They don't know if it was by accident or on purpose. It happened at 8521 Northwest 15th Avenue. The man who was shot was taken to Ryder Trauma Center, No word on his condition this morning. Now, another man is recovering in the hospital after he was stabbed in Hialeah. Hialeah Fire Rescue says that man, who was in his 20s, was stabbed multiple times and taken to Ryder Trauma Center. It happened on the 600 block of East 9th Street. Police haven't said yet if they've made any arrests. Well, take a look at this. Miami-Dade firefighters putting out a car fire. That's near Northwest 19th Avenue and 45th Street early yesterday morning. Firefighters say they were worried about it spreading to a home you see there just a few feet away. They were eventually able to get it under control and no one was hurt. No word yet on what sparked the fire. Meanwhile, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue is investigating what caused another car fire. This one did spread to a home in Miami Gardens. Take a look at the scene here. This is off Northwest 43rd Avenue and 198th Terrace. You can see some pretty significant damage there on the side of the house. Again, thankfully, no one hurt. Now to a CBS 4 News traffic alert for those of you who are traveling to or from Miami Beach. Work on the MacArthur Causeway Bridge will lead to more lane closures starting tonight. So listen up. 2 eastbound lanes will close tonight starting at 10, and that is every night through Wednesday. The lanes should be reopened by 6 o'clock the next morning, so closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. This will also have an impact on the Alton Road flyover. 2 westbound lanes will also close tomorrow night through Thursday night. This is also that concrete can be poured onto the bridge deck as part of the repair work to the MacArthur Causeway. Keep that in mind. 8:06 now. History is made at the Kentucky Derby, but it is for all the wrong reasons. The Derby's winner was disqualified. CBS 4's Mike Cunio shows us the video evidence that led to the decision.
It's video evidence that costs a lot of people a lot of money. Maximum Security, who crossed the finish line with plenty of room to spare, will forever be remembered as the first winner to be disqualified at the Kentucky Derby.
A stunning finish to the world's most famous race. Maximum Security, which finished first at Churchill Downs on Saturday, disqualified after the race was contested. Country House, a 65-1 long shot, came in second and declared the winner in a huge upset.
It's a great moment. It's a dream come true.
Race stewards deliberated and determined that Maximum Security strayed from his lane before being cleared of another horse, almost causing a collision. Country House's trainer reflected on the moment.
It's bittersweet. You always want to win with a clean trip and have everybody recognize the horse as the very good horse and the great athlete that he is. I think due to the disqualification, probably some of that is diminished.
Maximum Security became the first horse ever disqualified in the Derby's 145-year history. His jockey said the noise of the crowd of 150,000 fans unnerved the horse. Track conditions were listed as sloppy for the 19 horses that battled it out in the first race of the Triple Crown.
A reported $6.2 million worth of bets were placed on the Maximum Security to win the race, the loss costing this particular group of gamblers nearly $9 million worth of prize money. Mike Cunio, CBS 4 Sports.
Well, now on to the Trump presidency. President Trump is in Washington this morning. He has no public events scheduled for today. He spent yesterday golfing at his country club in Virginia, but while he was golfing, he was also tweeting. He attacked social media companies after Facebook banned a number of extremist figures. President Trump tweeted and retweeted complaints on the ban, saying he would, quote, monitor the censorship of American citizens on all social media platforms, end quote. The president's comments come after Facebook removed several pages and users, saying they violated its ban on dangerous individuals. You can look for much more on the Trump presidency on Face the Nation. That gets started at 10:30 right here on CBS 4. Moderator Margaret Brennan will join us for a live preview that is just ahead on CBS 4 this Sunday morning. And closer to home, the Florida legislature session is now over. The 60-day session went into overtime so legislators could pass a $91.1 billion budget. At the end of the session, Governor Ron DeSantis addressed legislators and the media in a ceremonial event where lawmakers congratulate themselves on their work during the session. The House and the Senate passed the spending plan with no debate. And before the session ended, the Florida legislature voted to help you save on hurricanes and school supplies. It passed a $121 million tax cut bill, which funds the sales tax holidays. So the hurricane tax holiday will be from May 31st to June 6th, and the school sales tax holiday from August 2nd to August 6th. For a deeper look at politics here in South Florida, join Jim DeFede for Facing South Florida. That is later this morning at 11:30. Jim shares what he is working on in our next half hour. Well, May is Missing and Unidentified Persons Month. The Miami-Dade Special Victims Unit is putting special focus on people who have simply vanished. They held an event aiming to spark any sort of lead in these missing persons cases while providing support and resources to the community. At this event yesterday, the sister of Nomi Gonzalez spoke out. She disappeared in February of 2014.
You wouldn't have enough time to go through all the questions that we have in our minds over what happened to her. We spoke to her the night before. The next morning, she wasn't there. What happened? What happened during the course of those hours? What happened to her that morning? Why was her door locked, closed but unlocked? Why were all things left behind? Where did she go?
Gonzalez was last seen in her home off Northeast 136th Street and 6th Avenue in North Miami. A $20,000 reward is being offered for any information on her whereabouts. Still ahead on CBS 4 this Sunday morning, there is more unrest in Venezuela. Juan Guaido is urging the country's armed forces to rise up and support his cause. What some of his supporters are saying about claims that the movement is losing steam. And later on, you may think that playing video games all day would hurt a high schooler's chances of getting into college, but at some schools, that's getting them scholarships. We'll explain coming up at 8:30.
That's really good.
Welcome back. Now in world news, Venezuela's opposition leader is calling for new demonstrations to force out President Nicolas Maduro. Juan Guaido also urged the country's armed forces to rise up and support his cause. CBS 4's Adriana Diaz is in Caracas.
Their faces were concealed, but they wanted their presence seen. Dozens of self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido supporters displayed a united front. They gathered at this plaza in eastern Caracas, the opposition's home base. The rest of the city was mostly quiet, despite Guaido's call for morning rallies outside military installations in hopes of attracting soldiers to his movement. We found lackluster protests like this one near the National Guard base. We asked if their movement had lost steam. She said not at all. They have more energy than ever. Venezuela's dueling presidents are in a tug of war over the country's most critical constituency, the military.
El momento es ahora.
On Tuesday, Guaido appeared with sympathetic soldiers announcing a military uprising which never materialized. Instead, armored vehicles squashed opposition protests. Since then, Nicolas Maduro has showed off his military support almost daily in photo ops, including today when he told troops he trusts their loyalty. John Goycochea is part of the opposition's transitional government.
So why would they appear next to Maduro?
Well, they are afraid. They know that they can be tortured. That happens in every dictatorship. I mean, that happens until the last day. But we just need one lucky day.
Nicolas Maduro has not issued an arrest order for Juan Guaido. Guaido's team tells us that's because an arrest could lead to public outrage and potential U.S. military intervention. Two things they say Maduro does not want. Adriana Diaz, CBS News, Caracas, Venezuela.
In other world news this morning, Israel says it's closing its border crossings with Gaza today after Palestinian militants fired more than 200 rockets into Israel. In response, Israel retaliated with dozens of airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. It is the first major conflict since the Israeli election almost a month ago. Officials say 4 Palestinians, including a pregnant mother and her baby daughter, were killed. 3 Israelis, including an 80-year-old woman, were hurt.
Now, CBS 4 weather.
Well, Jennifer, we have the Fort Lauderdale Air Show. Of course, today is Cinco de Mayo. And of course, today is your birthday, so we have a lot to celebrate this weekend.
Yes, we do.
And we want some good weather for it.
I like to celebrate Cinco de Mayo rather than it's my birthday.
You can do both. We give you permission.
Yeah, so
she's so humble.
Stop it. No, thank you. Thank you for the birthday love. And good morning, South Florida. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Let's talk about the temperatures because it'll be sizzling.
Hot, hot, hot.
For those fiestas later on today, a lot of people are going to have a head start. So make sure you are, yes, having fun. But of course, I got to say it, drink the water. Keep yourself hydrated, especially if you're going to be out in the sun. Temperatures right now, 80 degrees right along the coast, 81 in Miami, 80 in West Kendall, and 79 in Homestead, down through the Keys, 83 in Marathon, 81 in Key West. So we're starting off rain-free on real-time Doppler, a great way to kick off Sunday and to head out to the beach and, of course, to go check out the Fort Lauderdale Air and Sea Show. We have enough time before the storms give way. Now, the reason for the unsettled air mass is the fact that there is a system moving across the southeast, a front also up into the northeast, but this trailing cold front right here is really bringing in the moisture and energy over the Gulf waters right now. This is going to trigger those storms across the Sunshine State today. In fact, there's a threat for severe weather, and Broward, we're included in this threat. You see the darker shade of green. This does include eastern Broward up into Coral Springs, northern Broward, and then north of that as well. Now, this green is a marginal risk, which means when the storms develop out west, one of these storms, there's an isolated chance that it could become severe, and which means we can't rule out gusty winds, frequent lightning, heavy rainfall, maybe a funnel cloud or isolated tornado. The rest of us, the severe threat down south isn't as strong, but we still have to keep an eye on the sky. The Keys, I think you're going to be nice and dry through much of today. Now, Miami-Dade and Broward later on this afternoon around 2 o'clock. It begins inland, and then this is 4 o'clock. See how it drifts towards the east. Could become more intense as well in the later half of the afternoon into the evening hours. And Miami-Dade, by then, will probably have some storms lingering over the northern areas. As we head into tonight, things should start to clear out, and then tomorrow we're going to do it all over again because there's this river moisture. This is a moisture forecast hanging around. By Tuesday, later in the day, and Wednesday, that moisture really starts to fizzle out. We're not completely dry for the week, but less stormy weather by Wednesday, and temperatures try to moderate back down to the mid-80s.
Thank you, Jennifer. Face the Nation is coming up at 10:30 right here on CBS 4. Moderator Margaret Brennan joins us live from Washington, D.C. this morning. Good morning, Margaret. What are you working on for today?
Good morning to you, Carly. Well, we will speak to a very busy Secretary of State. Mike Pompeo will be joining us. He has a lot on his plate this morning with this flare-up overnight in violence between Israel and Hamas. We will also take a look at what it means for North Korea to have gone ahead with those missile tests this weekend. It seems to be testing whether or not President Trump is still dedicated to talking it out with Kim Jong-un and trying to come to an agreement. Lots to also speak about in regard to that fizzled uprising in Venezuela over the past few days. Here at home, we'll take a look at the fight over the Attorney General and how he characterized the Mueller investigation to the public. Calls for holding him in contempt of Congress as well. We'll speak to Democratic Whip, the Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, and we'll speak to 2 congressmen who did not get a chance to ask questions of the Attorney General this week because he didn't show up at a hearing. The top Republican on that committee, Georgia Congressman Doug Collins, as well as California Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell, who is also making a bid for the White House in 2020.
A lot of hot topics today, Margaret. Thank you. Of course, a lot of eyes on the situation in Venezuela here in South Florida. Remember, Face the Nation kicks off at 10:30 a.m. right here on CBS 4. And still ahead on CBS 4 this Sunday morning, we have a taste of the town.
And here's your laid egg.
Oh, there's my laid egg. I'm Lisa Petrella at Laid Fresh with Chef Michael here. It's Taste the Town, and it's all about breakfast and more, right?
Correct. Yeah, all day breakfast and brunch.
That sounds good to me. That story coming up on CBS 4 News.
Now time for another edition of Taste of the Town. It's eggs all day and night at Laid Fresh in Wynwood. CBS 4's Lisa Petrillo says the new Egg-centric eatery featuring local farm fresh eggs is fast becoming a neighborhood hit.
There's something extra special about Laid Fresh, the new airy egg-forward all-day cafe in the heart of Wynwood. The bright and casual eatery is from the creators of the Asian barbecue hotspot known as Q. Michael Lewis is executive chef and partner.
My business partner, Stephen, and I, we're, obviously working at Q 6-7 days a week. Around 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we're like, okay, I'm hungry now. Well, you know what? Somebody should open an all-day breakfast restaurant around here. And I think we said that for about a week, and then we were, oh yeah, we open restaurants. So that's why we did it.
The all-day menu features a host of delicious egg-centric dishes, as well as salads, fried chicken sandwiches, fresh squeezed juices, Panther coffee, and what looks like a coffee mug is really a mimosa. Cheers.
Yep. It's probably a mimosa.
Yum. The vibe is cheery and fun, including some tabletop Lego building.
It's light and bright and airy, right? And that was the idea, was to be good, positive energy. You can't force anyone to be happy, but you can set a tone for it.
Back in the kitchen, Chef Michael prepares the laid egg with crispy herb potato, homemade bacon marmalade, and hollandaise sauce. That's the kind of breakfast I want to wake up to. I mean, chefy all the way. The marmalade with the sweet.
It hits all the notes, right? Got a little bit of sweet, crispy, crunchy, hot, cold, salty, savory, a little bit of acid from the fresh hollandaise.
It just works.
Awesome.
Next, the hot fried chicken.
There's like a 11 napkin sandwich.
Or 12 if me. It's twice fried and twice as good.
So it's a spicy fried chicken with a Napa cabbage coleslaw and Camembert cheese. So Camembert is camembert and gorgonzola.
Then soft scrambled eggs with melted brie and avocado. Perfectly ripe avocado. Then the softness of the egg. You did not overcook it. I just went to a restaurant the other day. The eggs were hard. It has to be buttery.
It has to be, yeah. And if the fried chicken was a 11 or 12 napkin sandwiches, it's probably 15 to 20.
There's a lot of patting down.
But they're fully compostable. They're fine for the environment. They're recyclable. If you forget to recycle them, it's okay. 15 days they'll be gone.
We end on beautiful beignets, taking me back to Paris. When in doubt, come back for the beignets. That's a treat. I'll fight you for these beignets, but tell everybody how many days you're open here at Laid Fresh.
Right now we're open Tuesday through Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we have plans to open on Monday very soon.
Well, I'll be back on that Monday then.
Fantastic.
With a wonderful taste of the town in Wynwood, I'm Lisa Petrillo, CBS 4 News.
Breakfast all day? Sign me up. Laid Fresh is located at 250 Northwest 24th Street in Miami's Wynwood neighborhood. I'm hungry now. Still ahead on CBS 4 this Sunday morning. Are you looking for something to do today? Well, the Fort Lauderdale Air and Sea Show is getting ready to take off for a second day. We have a look at all the high-flying fun. CBS 4 this Sunday morning. We'll be right back.
This is CBS 4 News This Morning.
Good Sunday morning. I'm Carly Barnett. It's 8:30, and here's what we're working on right now. Happening today, the Fort Lauderdale Air and Sea Show, taking back to the skies and the seas. In just a few hours from now, we have a look at what you can expect from all the high-flying fun. And you may think playing video games all day would hurt a high schooler's chances of getting into college. Well, at some schools, they say they're giving them scholarships for it. We explain how. And we've got a live look outside this morning. Are we in for a stormy Sunday? Well, we saw some showers, even some storms yesterday. But will that impact your Cinco de Mayo plans today or your weekend plans? Let's send it over to our birthday girl, meteorologist Jennifer Correa, for a look at how our day is shaping up. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Carly, and thank you. Hey there, South Florida. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Happy Sunday. We're starting off dry on the radar, but it does not feel dry whatsoever. It feels quite sticky with the humidity being really relatively high. It feels like summer. Now, we do have a few fair weather clouds rolling on by, but temperatures are warming up. Ready at 80 degrees in Fort Lauderdale, 81 Miami and Key West. So dry on real-time Doppler radar, but not so much for the Gulf waters and then up into the east coast of the U.S. And that is all ahead of a frontal boundary that's moving across the area. This one is pretty strong. It's sparking some strong storms offshore. That's all headed into the Sunshine State, and that's going to make an impact for us here at home. But it's not until the afternoon when the storms will start to fire up, especially during over the inland areas, and then move their way eastward. We'll take a look at that and the timing of these storms coming up.
Thank you, Jennifer. Happening today, if you're in Fort Lauderdale, look up. Boats and planes will be back to the seas and the skies of Fort Lauderdale Beach for the Sea and Air Show. And thousands of people from all over the country will be there to watch this. CBS 4's Amber Diaz has a look at all the high-flying fun.
The Fort Lauderdale Air Show is on again, bringing some of the finest aircrafts above the sea to soar the sky, from death-defying drops to smooth yet twisting spirals under the sun.
These guys in propeller planes do an amazing job.
The U.S. Navy Blue Angels were the headliners.
They're here for the first time since 2006, and we have the F-22 Raptor demo team, as well as the C-17 demo that's flying over us as we speak.
This is the F-22 demonstration team coming in hot at 320 miles per hour.
Pretty crazy. It shows the tremendous power of the U.S. military. Adrenaline that goes through these guys is impressive.
And as the crowd showed love, so did the pilots. The show attracts spectators from all over the country. The flyers, both military and civilian, showing beachgoers the sky's the limit. And not to worry, because if you missed yesterday's show, you could always catch it today from noon to 4. In Fort Lauderdale, Amber Diaz, CBS 4 This Morning.
We have a look now at some of the other stories that are making headlines this Sunday morning. Right now, a Miami Air International plane is sitting in a Jacksonville river more than a day after skidding off the runway. NTSB officials now have the flight data recorder for the Boeing 737, and it could give some clues into what went wrong. Crews are trying to get the cockpit voice recorder to listen to what the pilots were saying, but that device is in the tail of the plane, and crews can't get to it until the plane is out of the water. All of the more than 140 people on the charter flight from Cuba to Jacksonville survived. And the Florida legislature session is now over. The 60-day session went into overtime, so legislators could pass a $91.1 billion budget. At the end of the session, Governor Ron DeSantis addressed legislators and the media in a ceremonial event where lawmakers congratulate themselves on all of their work during the session. The House and the Senate passed a spending plan with no debate. And a CBS 4 News traffic alert. Ongoing work on the MacArthur Causeway Bridge is going to mean more lane closures starting tonight. Listen up. 2 eastbound lanes will close tonight starting at 10, and that is every night through Wednesday. The lanes should reopen by 6 a.m. each day, so from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but this will also have an impact on the Alton Road flyover. 2 westbound lanes will also close tomorrow night through Thursday. This is so concrete can be poured onto the bridge deck as part of the repair work done to the MacArthur Causeway. If you'd like more on all these stories and to see what else is making headlines today, just head to our website, cbsmiami.com. Later this morning, be sure to join us for Facing South Florida. It's a program you can only see here on CBS 4. Jim DeFede has a preview.
Good morning. Coming up at 11:30 on Facing South Florida. After Attorney General William Barr's refusal to appear before the House Judiciary Committee, we discuss what should happen next with a member of that committee, Congresswoman Debbie Murkowski-Powell.
Everyone has to start paying attention. We cannot have an attorney general that is protecting the president of the United States. We have to have an independent attorney general that is overseeing the Department of Justice, working specifically for the American people and not just for this president.
We will also take on the issue of sanctuary cities. That's coming up at 11:30 on Facing South Florida, right here on CBS. I do hope you'll join us.
Well, we have some good news this morning. It is that time of year again for Miami-Dade College graduation. We caught up with one graduate who is a music performance major while he was taking his finals. We have some nice little background music for us there. Well, not only has he already released a song, but he's also heading to the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston with a $30,000 scholarship.
Well, I've been playing music like pretty much for most of my life. I played a bunch of different instruments, and then as soon as I got to college, I decided I was going to play guitar and sing. It's just a passion that grew over time.
Gabe's future looks bright, but his past was full of challenges, he says, motivated him to work even harder. Aside from music, he's also passionate about human and animal rights, as well as cooking. So congratulations to Gabe and all of the other graduates from Miami-Dade College. We still have much more ahead on CBS 4 this Sunday morning. And speaking of college,
Video games, they're not just for playing at home by yourself. They're now considered a sport at one South Florida university.
If your student likes to play video games, do not fear, because some of these armchair athletes, so to speak, may actually be getting a college scholarship for it. CBS 4's Lauren Pastrana explains.
Strategy and skill, essentials for any athlete, either on the court or in the computer lab.
That's really good.
Kelly Rivera spends a lot of time here.
The pleasure is mine.
But it's not all fun and games.
That guy was gonna destroy me if I didn't kill him right there.
This is a sport. Well, technically an e-sport.
It's very similar to like when you're at home and you're playing with your friends. You all get on one team to like fight the other, right?
St. Thomas University in Miami Gardens has the first school-sanctioned esports team in South Florida. The team, housed in a room above the basketball court, even falls under the athletic department, where the director, Laura Courtley Todd, thinks it's a perfect fit.
It gets them out of their dorm rooms because they're playing this in their dorm rooms, but now they have to come across campus, walk through the gym, walk by the fitness center, and come up the stairs and be integrated with all the sports.
St. Thomas is a NACE member. The National Association of Collegiate Esports currently has more than 125 member schools, up from just 7 in July 2017. And it's doled out more than $15 million in scholarships and aid. The average American spends more than 7 hours a week on video games.
You lose track of time.
Kelly and her teammates spend way more than that. She plays about 20 hours a week, and she also studies the game.
You can go on Twitch and then watch like plenty of other gamers practice, and as you watch them, you pick up their strategies and their like tips and guides to tricks, you know, how to get better.
Kelly's not just a player, she's also the team manager, and she basically built this room from scratch. There is space for 17 players. They have about 10 on the team right now, so still plenty of room to grow.
So how do you find the best and brightest video game players on a college campus? Computer science professor Sean Mondesir says, look no further than his classroom.
About 65% of them are hardcore gamers. And so when I brought them here, they were all amazed with the professional level that is here in the esports team.
He says many students already have the skills to be stars on the team, and those same skills can translate into a job down the road.
The video gaming industry is very big right now, looking at trying to create the next level game. So they need people to actually develop those next level games.
These student athletes are also eligible for scholarships, either by winning competitions or through the school itself. Kelly says she hasn't won any scholarships yet, but she's getting better every day.
If you have the drive to work hard and improve in your skills and your gaming, then you can definitely find a place on our team.
Lauren Pastrana, CBS 4 News.
Now, CBS 4 weather.
Not something I would expect someone getting a scholarship for, but hey, they have to study the game like everyone else. 20 hours a week, though. Were you a big gamer, Jennifer?
No, I mean, I played. I definitely had PlayStation,
Not
Nintendo,
this level, right?
Super Nintendo, not like this. So I still, after a while, you know, I was just like, I need a break. I need to go outside.
I played some Mario Kart back in the day. I'm not trying to brag, but speaking of going outside today, it's going to be a good day, but boy, is it going to be hot.
Today, you're going to definitely need ice cold drinks and, well, Cinco de Mayo, but you're
maybe
gonna
some
need
water too.
Yes, water for sure. I encourage the H2O, definitely. It does the body good, especially on a hot, steamy day like today, and already it's warming up into the low 80s. A beautiful live view out of the Windjammer Resort Camera in Lauderdale by the sea. So we're starting off Sunday nice and rain-free, but the clouds will certainly build out west later on this afternoon. And so late day storms for the beach. Those storms will roll on eastward and eventually make their way on the coast. So yeah, you can make it a beach day early on. The rip current risk still low. Winds out of the south. They'll be hot in the upper 80s. Inland temperatures, though, definitely hitting the 90-degree mark. And boaters, no advisories. The winds today are picking up a little bit of speed out there, up to 15 miles per hour, but still no advisories. Seas 2 feet. The bays at a light chop. Highs will be getting to 90 degrees, but before then, as you can see, we're warming up to the low 80s, already 81 in Miami, 85 in Marathon. And here's a look at the current wind speeds. Pretty light across much of the area, except for the lower Keys, a little on the breezier side, close to 15 miles per hour. So there's some action happening along the East Coast from the mid-Atlantic down into the Gulf waters, and this is out ahead of two different systems bringing in a big front. Now, the front itself is definitely going to start to weaken as it gets closer to us by the start of this week. But before then, there's a lot of moisture, a lot of energy being drawn in aloft from the south and southwest. And so there's a threat for not only storms, but some strong to severe storms as well. Broward, we're included in this marginal risk, as you can see in the darker shade of green, which means an isolated risk for severe storms. The rest of the area to the south of that, Miami-Dade, the severe threat might be a little bit lower, but we'll still get some storms rolling on through. Now, the Keys, I think you're going to stay mainly dry throughout today. Here we go. By 2 o'clock over the Everglades, the western area is getting those pop-ups already, and then it becomes more intense and a little more scattered by 4 p.m. and even by 6 p.m. The coastal areas, watch out for some storms out there. Now, the moisture levels will remain high, especially for Monday and Tuesday, so we'll see afternoon storms once again, but not as stormy by midweek.
Thank you, Jennifer. One of the biggest hits on daytime TV is the court show called Hot Bench. It's the only court program with 3 judges. Judges Patricia DeMango, Tanya Acker, and Michael Corriero all seek justice by arguing cases amongst themselves. The program marked a milestone, its 1,000th episode. We spoke to all 3 of the judges about what has surprised them the most over these years.
I never expected that I would become so fluent in people's ex-boyfriend problems. So, you know, we've adopted a little bit of the therapy.
Sometimes I sit there in awe the way they present their case so fluidly and so professionally. And I really want to, you know, and they make a good portion of our show successful because of who they are and what they've done.
When I contemplate 1,000 shows and recognize that I'm the newest member of this trio, if you will, and we've made 1,000 decisions, and that means that we've had to agree or disagree 1,000 times together.
Well, you can watch Hot Bench weekdays at 9 a.m. That is right here on CBS 4. And still ahead on CBS 4 this Sunday morning, more from the controversial finish at the Kentucky Derby. Plus, the Marlins try to get on track against the Braves in their series. Sports anchor Mike Cunio joins us next. CBS 4 this Sunday morning. We'll be right back. Well, before we get out and enjoy our Sunday fun day, Cinco de Mayo edition, of course, Jennifer has another look at our forecast.
Yeah, so definitely steamy, caliente, Cinco de Mayo, and that's because of the flow out of the south. Now, temperatures already warming up to the low 80s, 82 in Miami, 81 Fort Lauderdale, and the high for today, 90 degrees, so drink plenty of water. A lot is happening today with the Sea and Air Show, and so everyone's going to be out and about, especially with the Cinco de Mayo parties out there. So make sure you're drinking the water. We're going to do this all over again with those afternoon storms today, tomorrow, Tuesday, less stormy by Wednesday.
So go ahead and get out there early today.
Yes,
and wish Jennifer
sure.
a happy birthday, too.
Oh, thank you.
That does it for CBS 4 this Sunday morning. CBS Sunday Morning is up next. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day, everybody.